Dubai just hosted, that's in the United Arab Emirates, just hosted the Airline Economics Growth Frontiers Middle East and Africa Conference. It was held at the Ritz-Carlton Beach Hotel in Dubai and brought together aviation industry insiders from Africa and the Middle East to discuss pre- and post-pandemic trends in the aviation industry. An interesting data point from the conference was the top 10 most lucrative routes to, fro, and within Africa in 2019 before the pandemic hit. Lagos, the commercial capital of Africa's largest economy, was notably absent, as you can see from the top 10 routes on there. Joining us to discuss further, Sindy Foster, Principal Managing Partner at Avaero Capital Partners. Sindy, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. First off, what's the significance of the Airline Economics Conference in Dubai, to your mind?
Well, airline economics is fundamental to the growth of aviation. So it is a much needed topic that should be discussed at every opportunity. The significance of the location, I believe, is probably more to do with connectivity and ease of visa access. For example, if you are trying to put a conference on, you really need people to be able to get there from as many different parts of the world as possible and to be allowed to enter. And typically, Dubai is well set up for conferences, so it's a natural destination.
Thank you so much for that. What do you make of that top 10 data list from 2019? And I guess, we're here in Lagos, so we have to get your thoughts on no Lagos-London route, no Lagos-Dubai route in the top 10. What's your read on these numbers?
Well, not only is Lagos not there, but no sub-Saharan African route is there, which really begs the question, what are we doing in terms of, driving the aviation sector? If we look at South Africa, they are actively encouraging more routes, encouraging more airlines, encouraging multiple destinations for airlines. And so it's a natural place for people to enter from other parts of the world. And you'll see that, I think it was about 5 of the locations are going to Dubai. So it just shows that there's a natural interest from Africa to go to Dubai as well. It's, Southern Africa is very connected. 66 flights per week to London, for example, go from, South Africa. Whereas if you look at Nigeria, it's about 32 flights to London. So it's there is a huge difference in terms of the amount of availability of flights to those destinations, which is going to have an impact on revenue, obviously.
Thank you so much for that. If you're a proponent of Nigeria Air, that is the proposed national state airline, and or rather national carrier, excuse me, and believe that Lagos can be a hub, does this data suggest otherwise?
It suggests there's a lot more work to be done. It's not just about creating a national carrier, because as you can see, quite a few of the African countries who have national carriers are not even, their routes are not on that list. So just creating a national carrier isn't enough. The management of the national carrier, the policies driving the national carrier, those things are going to have a huge impact. Lagos being a hub, there are limitations, because you can't easily transit through Lagos. So it's, if you come from an international route and you want to try and connect to a domestic route, you can't even just interline. You have to basically remove your luggage, come out, go to the domestic terminal and fly again. There's no linkage between those two flights. So you could arrive on a delayed international flight and then end up missing your domestic flight. So there are issues with Lagos becoming a lucrative hub. It's not customer centric. And so there will be limitations. The new terminal was hopefully going to resolve that issue, but it hasn't yet been resolved. So we'll see what happens in the future.
Thanks. And I think you already noted this. I think you said this already, but other notable admissions, not just Lagos, Nairobi, Addis Ababa, Rabat, that's Morocco, despite Kenya, Ethiopia, and Morocco all having, state airlines. So I guess it's more of the same. Is that correct on your analysis?
Well, yes, partly that, but there's also other things. The reason why people travel to a destination is critical. So you could, you need to travel for business. You need to travel for tourism. If you've got a route which has a high number of business travel or a large number of tourism passengers, you will potentially have a profitable route. But just because you've got a national carrier by an airline, if nobody wants to go to Addis, and or large numbers, not enough large numbers want to go to Nairobi, you're not going to feature in the most profitable or highest revenue routes. It's just, basic economics.
Gotcha. The pandemic, as we know, that data is from 2019, pre-pandemic. We know what happened 2020. We had you on the show a number of times to talk about this. What do you think that list would look like if it was put together for 2020 or even 2021?
I doubt that it's going to look that different. During 2020, a lot of the South African routes would have been affected. But we've seen a rapid, growth in capacity in some of the markets, not in the Nigerian market, but the Southern African is very active at the moment. So I think we would have seen a dip in 2020, but 2021, 2022, things are really changing. There's a lot of desire still to travel, and that need is being met by the foreign airlines, not by African carriers.
Thanks. We're in the final quarter of this year. I mean, there's a festive period coming up December. Do you think we'll get a bit of a bump as far as travel within Africa is concerned for the fourth quarter?
It's unlikely, because not just of the factors within Africa, but globally, there are huge issues. Huge cost of living crises, which are affecting the amount of disposable income that people have. People may be reluctant to travel now, not knowing what the future holds with their jobs or with, mortgages and things like that, which are rising in some of the Western countries. Within the domestic market, you would have thought that we would see an increase in domestic travel, but we've had a reduction in capacity, which means that fares have increased. So that fare increase would have a knock-on effect on the number of traveling passengers. We have seen some new airlines enter the Nigerian market, for example, which should hopefully help improve the capacity. But unless the Forex issues and the aviation fuel problems are resolved, we're just going to see a continual reduction in capacity and availability of aircraft in Africa.
Thanks. Final question, I guess an extension of this previous question. That was for fourth quarter 2022. What about, I mean, maybe this is too far ahead, but what do you think 2023 is going to look like for aviation?
Well, 2023 is going to be quite interesting. I think no one's able to predict which way things are going to go, but there's a lot of new entrants coming in, because where you have chaos, sometimes people see it as an opportunity. They can come in with a lower cost structure for the airlines, no inherited debt from the previous COVID period and the previous period before COVID. So if you're able to start now without those problems, you could potentially do quite well. We have probably got a new airlines launching in Nigeria Air, potentially, maybe launching. I have my reservations about the sustainability of that airline, but maybe they will launch, maybe they won't launch. It's going to be an interesting period. We have an election in Nigeria, so that usually means there's a lot more domestic travel. We will see what the impact is of the oil prices and the gas restrictions, because we've got issues with the delivery from places within Europe to other parts of the world. Just this weekend, we saw there was a bridge that was blown up, which potentially will mean a rise in prices again and restriction of supply. So we'll see what happens, but 2023 is going to be another roller coaster year for aviation in Africa for sure.
All right, and well, we're happy we're going to have you hopefully to review all that as things unfold. Sindy Foster, Principal Managing Partner, Avaero Capital Partners, thank you so much for talking to us about the aviation industry. Appreciate your insights.